Now this is the best and most powerful Magick Archer build in Dragon's Dogma 2. The Magick Archer excels in dealing massive damage from the backline, making it easy to destroy dragons and any other bosses. In this guide, I'll cover the best skills and strategies to effortlessly conquer any situation. So let's check this out. So first, I'm going to show you destroying this dragon. Now the Magick Archer is a very powerful vocation known for dealing tons of damage. However, it's important to note that you'll often rely on your pawns to draw the enemy's attention. So ideally you want a fighter among your party to draw the enemy's aggro, as the Magick Archer lacks escape or defensive maneuvers to avoid being surrounded. The Magick Archer does face some challenges in close quarters, such as caves, where it's difficult to detect nearby enemies, especially in darkness. But I'll cover the best skills and strategies to handle any situation in their dedicated sections. Now the Magick Archer offers two aiming options, pinpoint volley and rivet shot. Now pinpoint volley provides a larger and wider aim with a longer charge time for your basic attack. However, rivet shot offers a smaller aim but charges your basic attack much faster. Also, aiming requires a timing element to maximize effectiveness, typically around 2 seconds before firing. Your magic bow will spark and glow before you release. Upon release, it will spark and glow again, but even brighter, and the timing is fairly lenient. However, precise timing isn't crucial, especially when fighting multiple enemies, where charging your attack and firing more shots is preferable for increased damage output. I only focus on timing when facing 1 or 2 weaker enemies that can be defeated in one hit. Now regarding aim preference, I recommend using rivet shot due to its significantly faster charging time over pinpoint volley. The Magick Archer possesses an auto aim lock-on system, reducing the necessity for a larger aim. I typically only use pinpoint volley for situations where I can hear but not see enemies, swiftly aiming at bushes and trees to check for hiding spots. Otherwise, rivet shot generally proves to be the superior option. So now checking out the weapon skills. Now I spent hours testing each skill in various situations to compile my findings. And there's one weapon skill I adjust when entering a cave, but I'll discuss that further when I cover that particular skill. So the first weapon skill I'm using is Sagittate Avalanche. And this will create multiple magical arrows that can either target a single or multiple enemies. This skill is really strong and can melt any enemies and bosses. Now this is a skill I use often, and I use this skill more than my basic attack. Now this skill does scale off your magic, but it does do physical damage. So this skill is really good on golems. The next weapon skill I'm using is Blaze Fang Arrow, and this skill will fire a magical fire arrow that explodes on impact, and you control the arrow. And this skill is really good for AoE damage and will destroy bosses that are weak to fire, like griffins. Now one trick you can do is when you're controlling the arrow, and if you want to release it before the impact, you can hit the cancel button and you'll return to your character, but the arrow will keep flying. And the next weapon skill I'm using is Recovery Arrow, and with this skill you want to shoot your arrow at your pawns to either heal them, or if you fully charge the arrow, it will revive your pawn if they go down. Now I only use this skill for reviving my pawns because I will typically have a mage pawn for healing, and since you will be in the back line, it will be very easy to revive your pawns with this skill if they go down. And the last skill I'm using is the Meister skill, Martyr's Bolt, and this skill will shoot tons of magical arrows doing huge damage to everything on the screen, but in return it will cost you some of your health. Now the longer you charge this skill, the more health it will drain, but you'll do more damage. Now I only use this skill on bosses, and I typically won't charge it as much if there are no campsites around. Even though I'm losing damage for charging this skill short, you will see it still does tons of damage, and your health is really important, especially if there are no campsites around. Okay, so one alternate skill I use when entering a cave is Ricochet Hunter, and I'll switch this skill out for Sagittate Avalanche, and you'll see that almost all the caves in Dragon's Dogma 2 will have a campfire right outside or near the cave. The Ricochet Hunter will shoot tons of magical arrows that can ricochet off walls and surfaces. Now you will lose your auto aim lock on with Ricochet Hunter, but if you're in a cave, the arrows will go everywhere and destroy everything in sight. And one other thing I like to do in a cave is use Blaze Fang Arrow and control the arrow to scout out the cave. This will help you not get ambushed, and you can easily clear out enemies in the cave. And of course, once you leave the cave, don't forget to switch Ricochet Hunter back to Sagittate Avalanche, because Ricochet Hunter is not too great in the open fields. Next for the core skills. Now definitely take all the core skills because they'll boost your basic attacks. So Climactic Arrow will boost your damage when you time your aim. Scopic Sight will extend your lock-on range. Tracker's Sight will increase the maximum number of lock-on targets. And Protracting Arrow will keep the element skill you used before for your basic attack for a short period of time. So all the core skills are very useful. Next for the augments. Now for the augments, I did focus on damage and recovery. So the first augment I'm using is diligence from the fighter to hasten my recovery when I'm staggered. The next augment I'm using is lethality from the archer, and this will increase your damage when striking targets' vitals. And this augment is really good for destroying bosses. The next augment I'm using is exaltation from the mage, and this will increase your stamina recovery speed. And the next augment I'm using is subtlety from the thief, and this will decrease the likelihood of being targeted by foes. And this augment is really good for not getting attacked and staggered. And the next augment I'm using is sagacity from the sorcerer, and this will increase your magic for more damage. And the last augment I'm using is zeal from the warfarer, and this will reduce the stamina consumed when using a weapon skill. And this augment is really good for stamina management. Okay, so next for the equipment. Now I am in New Game Plus and all the best equipment is from the Dragon Forge, except for the cloaks and rings. So all my equipment is from the Dragon Forge, but the cloaks and rings. And I am also wearing an additional headpiece under my helmet. And in order to trade items from the Dragon Forge, you'll need worm life crystals. And these crystals are farmed by killing dragons. So for the weapon, I'm using the Grium Har. And for the head armor, I'm using the Ancient Galea. But I'm also using the Prowler Kerchief, making me more difficult to detect. And for the body armor, I'm using the Residence armor, and for the leg armor I'm using the Strider's Greaves. Now for the cloak, I'm using the Champion's Mantle, but just beware, the cloak is not required and is just for style. Ideally you don't want to wear a cloak because it does greatly affect your weight, but since I'm in New Game Plus and weight is not an issue, making my hero more stylish is more important. Next for the rings. Now the first ring I'm using is the Ring of Triumph, and this will slightly boost your health, stamina, and the amount of weight you can carry. And the next ring I'm using is the Ring of Percipience, and this will increase your magic, and of course more magic is more damage for the Magick Archer. Okay, so next, where to upgrade your gear. Now the best place to upgrade your weapon will be at the Sacred Arbor to get the Elven enhancement, because this enhancement will greatly increase your magic, but it has little effect on strength, and this enhancement will slightly reduce its weight. And the Magick Archer's main damage is magic. Now for the armor, I personally like to enhance my armor in Verm, because in Verm, it will boost all your stats and it will slightly reduce its weight. And since you're in the back line, it's better to have lower weight, so you run faster to reposition and dodge enemies' attacks. And in the back line, you shouldn't be getting attacked often. Okay, so next, if you want to check out my stats. Now I am level 58 and have all the best gear. The Magick Archer is a broken class that deals huge amounts of damage. Now the Magick Archer does lack ways to escape or defend in some situations, but that's where you rely on your pawns to help draw aggro. And next I'm going to show you some gameplay destroying dragons. Okay, so thanks for checking out one of the best, strongest Magick Archer build in Dragon's Dogma 2. Now, the Magick Archer is a very fun and easy vocation to use, and I highly recommend to check them out. The Magick Archer can easily destroy dragons and any bosses with its crazy amounts of damage. Hope this helps in more videos to come, so stay tuned. And don't forget to give your pawns a high five.